Hello, I'm Mike, this is Will, we are the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And we're bringing you issue 4 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms today. So in this issue we got 4 easy to build Glaivewraith Stalkers for the Nighthaunt, a pot of Nighthaunt Oxide paint, as well as a new battle mat, a much larger battle mat than we won't be playing on before, which we'll see later. If you want to skip straight to the battle, there'll be a time code in the description. Heading in now. First up, we have some background on the Glaivewraith Stalkers themselves, about how they used to be sort of cruel hunters who were, after they died, they were sort of merged with their mounts to become this sort of weird horse-human hybrids, ghosts that relentlessly hunt their victims, and they're also usually often part of the vanguard of Nighthaunt armies. And now we have some background on the Sacrosanct Chambers, the branch of the Stormcast Eternals that are created to fight demons and ghosts, or the undead, and how they make heavy use of magic. And we've got a sort of the organisation here, so we have the Lord Arcanum and the Lord Exorcist, lower level lords, and then further down the ranks to the Secretors and the Castigators, the kind of frontline troops. And we've got some background on the Necroquake, the big arcane disaster that ended up creating the Nighthaunt and ravaging Shyish. And a bit of a background here on the Skaven. So the Skaven are sort of rat men who are in the service of chaos. And I've got some background on Aesir, the realm of the heavens, or Sigmar's home realm. So the capital city, Aesirheim, and how the plane was purged of chaos. And we've got the build guide for the Glaivewraith Stalkers. One thing to note is one model you have the choice between the drum or a glaive. The drum does give the unit an extra ability, which we don't learn about in this issue, but we presumably will later. And the models still fights normally as if you had a glaive anyway. It's still a choice to whether you want the drum or the glaive. And we've got another painting guide here. We'll go with our new paint, the Nighthaunt Oxide. So again, teaching you how to load the paints, how to open and close the pots properly so they don't evaporate or leak. So first off, you paint the Glaivewraith Stalkers white, like you've been doing with the other Nighthaunt units. Again, doing multiple thin coats. And then you're using the Nighthaunt Oxide and doing an all-over coat over them. And Nighthaunt Oxide is quite a thin paint, so as it suggests, if it starts to pool or create tide marks, you can use the brush to kind of move the paint around before it dries. But again, that's the result. It gives them a sort of spooky glow effect to all of your ghosts. But with that over, be on to the battle for this issue.
And now we're on to our playthrough for this issue, and our little ongoing story here. Anastasia Starstrike and the Stormcast Eternals are retreating from the barrow because there are too many Nighthaunt inside it. Unfortunately, the Nighthaunt have followed them out and are determined not to let them escape. So the brave Castigators have set up in order to try and halt the ghosts coming after them. So here's our playthrough overview. The Glaivewraith ambush, the battlefield is set up like that. This is using half of our new battle mat. It suggests you just fold it in half, so we only have the half that we're using. The Castigators start on one side and the Glaivewraith Stalkers on the other, and there are little markers to show you where to put them. The Glaivewraith Stalkers get to go first, and this describes their attack, but what we're learning how to do first is movement. So it says a Glaivewraith Stalker may move 6 inches in any direction, but they have to all remain within 1 inch of each other, respectively, so they form a group with no more than 1 inch from another model in the unit. So as it shows down here, they will move towards the Castigators, but they can't do anything else unless they're within 3 inches. So therefore we have to move on to the Castigators' attack. These guys work exactly the same as they did in the previous issue, although they can move up to 5 inches now if the Stormcast Eternal player wishes for them to. And after their shooting, the Glaivewraiths get to attack again, but now it explains that if their move takes them to within 3 inches of the Castigators, then they can pile in, and we follow the combat sequence that we've learnt up until now. So yeah, there's no charging as such yet, but if they get within 3 inches with their movement, then they can pile in and attack. So that's as far as we've got so far with the rules. And much like Chain Rasp, Glaivewraith Stalkers have 2 dice, and they hit on rolls of 4, but they only do 1 damage per hit. And as before, Castigators take 2 hits to kill. So that's it. We'll obviously see that all in action, but just here on the last page we've got movement stats added for all of the models we've got so far, so you can use the entire collection with these rules now. But with that, we'll get straight on to having a look at the game. So here we are all set up with our new battle mat. Well, half a battle mat, the other half you'll see soon enough, I'm sure. We've got the Castigators on the left, on their spots, and the Glaivewraith Stalkers on the right of the screen, coming out of the mist. On the battlefield itself, obviously, there's some printed terrain here, there's various sort of graveyardy, mausoleum-type pieces. It doesn't have any effect of the game as yet, just for decoration.
But the Glaivewraiths start, so I'm going to start by moving 6 inches closer to the Castigators, making sure to stay within an inch of at least one of our mates at all times. That's as far as we can go. Obviously we're not within 3 inches, so we can't fight them yet.
So the Castigators can move up to 5 inches. I don't see any need, so they're going to just stand where they are, and then get to attack with their Thunderhead Greatbows. Going to have 1 shot each, hitting on 3s as before, and 6s are good, so that's a 6, which is D3 hits. So it'll be 3. So they inflict.
So that's 5 hits, and there's only 4 Glaivewraiths, so they are wiped out.
Because each hit destroys a Glaivewraith. So, well, that was fairly convincing. We'll set that up and have another go. So we set up again, so off the Glaivewraith Stalkers go once again.
Yeah, round number 2, moving 6 inches directly ahead.
And then the Castigators' turn. We'll just shoot again, so looking for 3s. That's a 1, so 2 hits, but one of them is D3 hits, so roll on that. It's only 1, so inflicting 2 hits.
2 Glaivewraiths die, so I'll just take away these 2.
And it's on to the Glaivewraith Stalkers' turn.
So yes, now we get to move 6 inches, and now we're now within 3 inches of the Castigators, so we can pile in and fight. So this guy will just pile into this Castigator.
Once again, you have to get within base contact to fight in these rules.
Yeah, we can move up to 3 inches to do so though, so you should be able to. So we've got 2 Glaivewraiths in melee, 4 attacks hitting on 4s.
No.
Nothing.
Okay.
But now the Castigators get to shoot with their bows again.
Well, you don't need to pile in, we can just shoot them again, even though they're right in front of us. So another 3 shots hitting on 3s. Oh, it's 2 hits, so, well, it's actually...
Plus a D3, but that's enough to kill the Glaivewraiths.
So, once again, fairly straightforward. We'll have another go like this, and then maybe after this we'll change it up a bit, try and do something else, but...
Feeling this is going to be the one, I think. Round 3, feeling good about this one. So moving 6 inches.
But now, once again, it's shooting time, so 3s. That's only 2 hits, and no 6s.
2 more chain rasps. And then once again, we know we can get within 6 inches, or within 3 inches of the target, and then pile in.
Still remembering to stay within an inch of each other.
Oh yeah, better check that. Oh, they're not quite within an inch there, so we'll pile in slightly differently. So we do maintain the 1 inch friendship zone. And then we got 4 attacks hitting on 4s. That's 3 hits.
So that's 1 Castigator down, we'll take that one, and another one has a hit, so we'll mark it with that. Now we get to shoot back, and then 2 shots remaining on 3s. Oh, missed!
Oh no, so the Glaivewraiths get to attack again. 4 attacks hitting on 4s.
Oh,
that's 4 hits.
They all hit. So
Yay.
the Castigators are wiped out. So there you go, it is possible for the Glaivewraith Stalkers to win this game. But since we've got the movement values for the chain rasps now, we'll set them up against the Castigators and see if they can do any better. So we set up the chain rasps this time, and we'll let them go first again. They also have a move of 6 inches.
Yeah, and I just put 1 each on each of the spots and then put the other 6 up around them. So they're roughly the same distance to travel as the Glaivewraiths would have.
And once again, they all have to stay within an inch of at least someone else in their unit.
Yeah, and
but the Castigators get to shoot, hitting on 3s. Oh, didn't well, so D3 hits for that. That's 3.
So that's 5 dead chain rasps.
Oh,
so
they're doing well today.
And
The chain rasps get to go again.
So we're definitely within 3 inches, so we can pile in. So we can all pile in while maintaining the 1 inch zone. And then we have 10 attacks on the chain rasps, hitting on 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
That's actually enough hits to destroy the Castigators. So there we go. We tried out with the Glaivewraith Stalkers and then the chain rasps as well. So that is movement, at least in a very basic level. So we'll just give you our thoughts on all that right away. Well, that was the playthrough for issue 4 of Mortal Realms. What did you think of that?
It is nice to play on a board where movement is actually a thing, and we actually get to see the Castigators actually get to use their range to their advantage instead of being in a fight straight away. And again, it's just building on expanding the rules. Even though we've never played Age of Sigmar before, we have played other tabletop games. So it's easy for us to say, oh, the rules are being introduced very slowly. Like, this is so basic that it seems easy. But remember, this magazine is kind of aimed at completely new people who've never done this kind of thing before. And again, with the Glaivewraiths, later on I assume we'll see their full rules and they'll have abilities that will distinguish them from the chain rasps, because at the moment they're just 4 chain rasps with bigger bases.
This game obviously statistically favours the Stormcast quite a bit. I mean, 3 shots hitting on 3s with the potential for extra hits. There'll probably be about 2 of them left when they get there. And even as we saw in the second game, when the Glaivewraith Stalkers get in, they still are unlikely to take out the Castigators. What happened in our third game was quite unlikely. That you rolled really well and the Castigators missed twice. But hey, I mean, got to start somewhere, I suppose.
I mean, you could have potentially have moved to try and hide in one of the corners.
Yes, that's true. It does allow the Castigators to move.
Which I think might have... You couldn't stop the Glaivewraiths getting in for another turn. I think, but only a few of them would be able to get in, I think. So, I mean, the ones at the back wouldn't be able to pile in.
We got a little bit of that when we tried with the chain rasps. So if you'd had more than 5 of them left when you got there, it's possible some of them wouldn't have been able to pile in. Now that every model has to stay within an inch of another model, you do have to be careful.
Yeah, I guess also it makes sense to introduce that now as well, because there was no movement on the smaller board. So this is I guess this is the point where officially these are considered units where we have to where they ought to stay together.
And it's also coming from a 40k background. It's 1 inch distance is actually quite small. If you're used to the 2 inch.
Yeah, in 40k it's 2 inches. You do have to be a bit more careful when you're moving, and it also, I think mainly it's to stop you. If you have a really large unit, you can't just chain it across the entire battlefield.
And I mean, it's a little bit peculiar that they just get within 3 inches and, they're in 3 inches, now they can pile in, but without introducing the whole full rules for charging, bit by bit. So that's just the compromise they've come up with. It feels a bit odd, but that's just...
Yeah, you're now in a fight.
But on the previous board, you started in a fight, so...
Yeah, so it's again, there's starting to build on the actual sort of phases. So normally a turn is divided into phases. So you have the movement phase, the shooting phase, and then the fight phase. And again, with the Glaivewraiths...
they're kind of weird, but...
Well, the weird horse skull thing.
Horse skulls, but...
Kind of like the Banshees, where you have to be a bit careful putting them together. And another one where painting the base actually takes longer than painting the actual wraiths themselves. Because there's just tons of detail on it. I mean, they look really good when they are painted, though, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, I like the one phasing through the railings, for example.
And that looks really cool. But again, it's the kind of... If you don't want that kind of aesthetic as well, you basically need to chop all that off and rebuild the ghost.
Well, I don't think there's much more we have to say for this video, so if you enjoyed this content, please give it a like and subscribe. Leave any comments you might have. If you've been getting to learn these rules using this magazine, then do let us know how you got on. If you've got any thoughts about tactics or other things, do let us know. But we've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we will see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.